Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike Shea, and I'm here with Kim Ice of Locke Insurance in Lakeland, right? Lakeland, right?
We are in Lakeland and Davenport. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So what we're going to do here is talk about insurance, both personal and business insurance. And the reason is I got a lot of clients who get into their first company and they don't realize that there's a whole machine they have to have in place to both operate and then protect themselves, because some bad things can happen. So Kim, why don't you give a quick introduction to yourself, the company, and then we'll get right into it, talking about the most exciting topic on the planet, insurance.
Hey, good morning. Kim Ice with Locke Insurance. I've been in this wonderful business about 21 years. I've been with Locke Insurance for 16 years, and Locke Insurance has actually been here in Central Florida for about 17 years. So that is just a little briefing on us. It is a family-owned agency. We do have our main office in Lakeland. We do also have a office in Davenport as well.
Cool. So obviously you do mostly the home lines and stuff like that. So let's define the various different types of insurance we're going to be, most of my clients deal with, which is obviously when they come in or they're moving to Florida, they're going to need home insurance, fire insurance, all sorts of different, auto, et cetera. And then we'll talk about the business stuff.
So on the home, oh, go ahead.
So, yeah, average guy comes down, or let's say they're moving from England, right? So I got a couple moving in from England. They, buy a house and then they're going to buy a business. What are they going to need? Bare minimum.
That's what they all want, bare minimum, until something happens and they don't have coverage because it's bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's where
Probably
we are.
A poor choice.
That is right.
Yes.
And unfortunately, insurance, if you don't know what you're looking at, it can be easy for someone to slide you just a bare minimum policy, because when you're just signing the application, if you don't look that it's an HO3 form or instead it's an HO8 form, there's a huge difference in coverage there. Your HO8 is going to cover you actual cash value, not going to cover fallen trees if a tree falls on your house, not going to cover water if a water pipe breaks. I mean, there's just you need to know what you're buying. Make sure you're getting in the HO3. Look at your coverages, look at your deductibles. Make sure your deductibles are within reach if something was to happen, and because they could just be sliding it through and give you some outrageous deductible. Something happens and you got to come out of pocket $25,000. I mean, it just make sure you're looking what you get.
One of the funny thing is I deal with people coming in from either overseas or from up north, and they all want to live on the water. And I've been here for 20 years, and I specifically do not want to live on the water. And the reason is cost of insurance.
And you can guarantee that here in Florida that you're going to get a policy and it's not going to cover flood insurance. Flood insurance is a separate policy. So when that storm comes through and you've got water rushing through your doors, you're going to call and we get to tell you that, sorry, you don't have a flood policy. There's no coverage at all. So make sure you're looking at what you're getting. Pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah, they got to know. One of the things about having a local agent you can talk to, not somebody on a telephone, who's sitting in Bangladesh quoting you something, is there's some subtle nuances to the weather and to where you live in the state and what you're going to encounter. And by town, by region, by what part of the city, what's common and what's not common just because you live here and you work here. So, it's important to have your agent local. And it's important to have a person who's got some experience who knows, hey, you move over past plant, you're in Tampa and you're on one of the canals, you need to have a whole bunch of extra stuff that you and I may not have on the north side of Lakeland, right?
Absolutely. The weather's definitely different here. You could be completely safe here in Central Florida, but you move over to the east or west and you need a totally different insurance policy and you have more things to worry about over there. So make sure, and that's another important thing, is make sure that who you're using, that they know what they're doing, that they have the experience in it. I had a guy come to me that wanted a policy and I couldn't do it because his roof was too old. He said, well, ABC down the road, said they would do it, didn't mention my roof. Well, guess what? Yesterday he came back to me and said, I'm canceled. What can you do? So make sure that who you're working with, you trust and that they are experienced in it.
All right, so let's talk business. I know you don't primarily deal in business and commercial lines, but what's the primary difference? I mean, a lot of consumers think it's just like getting a home quote. It's not. there's a world of difference between commercial insurance and there's varying different degrees of commercial insurance, right?
So commercial is very wide range. First off, you start on commercial auto. Any person that drives that vehicle has to be listed as a covered driver. I don't care if I'm your wife and I say, hey, I'm going to run you, since your truck's behind my car, I'm going to drive it to the store and I get into an accident. I'm not covered unless I'm listed on that policy. So it doesn't matter if you have someone that's going to drive it once a year, make sure they're listed, because commercial does not cover under any circumstance if they're not a covered driver.
Yeah, I came across that. I was at a local business last night, and an employee had a broken down vehicle, and they were trying to be helpful, and they lent the vehicle to somebody, and lo and behold, he went and drunk drive. And it crawled right back to the whole company. And significant, 20 vehicles in the fleet, and your rates go up. So when it comes to commercial, everyone gets hung up on the emotion of it. You have to be very analytical and know the policies. And everybody who's got access to the keys needs to know the rules and follow the rules, right?
That's right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
On
go
commercial buildings, so it's totally different from a normal standard homeowner. You got to build that policy. And I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't realize is you come to me and you get a business policy on your building. You get business property to cover what's inside. Storm comes through and you've spent $15,000 on that sign outside. It's not covered. Doesn't matter that it's attached to your business. You got to have sign coverage. So the biggest thing about a business policy is make sure that you're building it to cover everything that you have. And so many people, when the hurricanes came through in 2004 and 2005, where Florida was hit like 4 or 5 hurricanes back to back, the signs were gone. Like if you had a standing sign in Florida, you were very blessed. And I would probably say 80% of the people did not even know that they needed sign coverage. So they didn't have the money to replace their signs. That's why you've seen the makeshift like plastic or whatever. So make sure on a commercial that you are building it to cover everything that you have.
Right. And then, even in my own practice, where we don't have big buildings, right, where there's all kinds of different insurances related to the types of businesses that you run. Like I carry, there are guys like who do what I do who carry E&O insurance. And errors and omissions is for people who get into legal stuff and they might make a mistake, and insurance companies carry it, lawyers carry it. There's malpractice insurance. There's all kinds of nurses carry malpractice insurance in addition to doctors. And you have to hedge your risk. So you're again, that whole personal relationship with a local operator who understands your business and helps you build the policy. It's important that you said that term. I've seen commercial policies this thick, and I've seen commercial policies this thick with hundreds of addendums to them because they get super, super complex, and then circumstance based. If X happens, then Y, right?
Right.
And your residential personal line commercial broker, just like doctors, you don't go to your general practitioner if you want brain surgery. You should have different specialists within the insurance line world, because if you don't touch it every day, the laws are changing constantly and the rates are changing. You have to be on top of it, and you're feeling that now specifically in insurance because of fraud on the residential side. You're seeing just things change by the minute, right? Because it's super hard to get a good policy now, right?
It is very hard. And also kind of going back to what you just mentioned is if you find an agent that they say, oh, I do commercial and personal, I have a lot of faith in people, but I don't know that I would ever trust one person to handle all of my business because they're so totally different. There's no way that their brain could stand keeping up with all the changes on both sides, especially since they are so both totally different. I would definitely want to put my trust in one person for this and then one person for this. Now, all your personal lines, your auto, your home, your motorcycle, your RV, yes, one person can keep up with that. But when it comes to commercial, I always feel more safer carrying with 2 different people that specialize in that particular side of it.
So when someone comes here and they've got their residential, they're going to call you, they're going to get their residence done, they're going to get their car done, then they got to put their kids onto the policy. That's stuff you do every day. When it comes to commercial, does Locke have people who do that alone?
We do. I have Heather that digs deeper into commercial. I will tell you, general liability is the most common policy. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It's very deceiving. It doesn't cover a lot of stuff. The biggest thing with a general liability, because everybody needs one. If you have any kind of business, lawn maintenance, whatever, but you have to make sure that you're putting all classifications on there. You come to me and you say, I mow yards. Okay. Well, you didn't tell me that you did landscaping. You also do mulch. You also do tree trimming from the ground.
Trees.
There's just so much that you have to make sure that you're putting. You can't just categorize it to, I just do lawn maintenance, because if you do anything else outside of that, still under, to me, would be still under lawn care, but isn't under the lawn mowing. So just make sure, if on the general liability, that you're definitely giving your agent every single thing that you do. That way it could all be listed and classified on that policy.
Right. And when they go to someone like Locke, they've got where you can go out and shop it to get the best rates, right? So
that is correct. We write with over 50 different companies on both sides.
Yeah. So the temptation is you go to a State Farm agent because they have a good brand. They only got one brand. It's a one-trick pony. The assumption on the general public side is that all insurance is the same. It's not. The ability of an independent insurance broker to basically make the insurance carriers compete against each other is super, super important in the market, but particularly for the consumer. It helps them get the better price and match up. Like when I made the move to when I made the move to Lakeland 3-4 months ago, I'd been with USAA since I was 20. Before that, since I was 19 years old. And they'd always been good. And then when I moved and they quoted me on my new home, I was like, whoa, whoa. It just never occurred. And what happens is sometimes people bump and it just becomes blind. You have this brand loyalty. And I encourage people to shop their insurance their insurance policies constantly, have their broker take a fresh look and take it to market. And that keeps the insurance companies, honest, because they do incremental increases by the penny, by the dollar. And, over 20 years, it just flies under your radar screen. And it was a couple $100 difference for me switching from USA on my homeowner's insurance to something else. And everything else was fine. It's just it's funny, consumers think that, or don't understand that the portfolios of the brokerages or of the insurance companies dictate how their rates work, or their losses dictate. So, we're in hurricane world, and you told me something a couple of weeks ago I wasn't really aware of. The amount of fraud in Florida is so dramatic that it's driving you nuts and causing problems for the consumer.
It is very tough, and the lovely thing about Florida is, out of every city in the United States, 3 out of the 5 top fraud is in Florida. Miami, of course, being number 1. Then you have Orlando coming in at number 3 and Tampa coming in at number 4. Well, where are we at here? You and I, we're right there between that Orlando, Tampa area. So we're tucked in between the two of the hardest cities on the fraud. So that's why we're getting hit with the rate increases. Now, going back to you suggesting shopping, I suggest shopping to a certain extent. There is now a clause put in on homeowners insurance that they are going to start with every single year that your roof gets older. They are going to knock off how much they're going to pay, their actual cash valuing the roofs. And I've told several people over the last month that you need to stay where you're at. You're grandfathered in. You're going to get replacement on that roof. Your roof is 8 years old. You need to, I'm not going to save you enough money to offset what you're going to lose if something happens. Or should I say when something happens, because this is Florida, something's going to happen to the roofs, you can guarantee.
Yeah, it's not just the hurricanes. Our gusts can be so bad and our hailstorms can be so bad that it destroys the roof. So that's an interesting, as a just pure money driven, I'm like, yeah, shop it, keep your rates down, but you're going, wait a second, the detail of the policy is your grandfather and you shift, you're not getting that. And that's because you're local and you're aware of the laws changing every day. One more reason to have a commercial broker and then a residential, an individual policy broker out there shopping for you, because they're different, right?
They are
so cool. Is
different.
there anything else? Whenever someone comes to me to buy a business, they got to have general liability. And we talked about the nuances of, be careful what you say, and make sure
Right.
you don't do work that you're not covered for, right?
Right.
And the reality is that those policies are protected their consumers, their customers, because if you're doing commercial work of any kind, they're going to want to get a commercial policy. It's not dramatically expensive. I generally think it's like $1,000 to $1,500 for $1 million policy. That's generally what I see when I look at people's numbers. When you get into some crazy businesses, then it gets kooky. Medical businesses get kooky, manufacturing gets kooky, tree companies get kooky. I would imagine, in light of the stuff down in South Florida and the construction, high rise type stuff and pouring concrete because the clawback liability of construction and, errors and emissions type stuff coming back to hit people, that, the cost of doing business is going to be dramatic. But I guess in summary, it's like, make sure you've got a good, I got people walking by me at this restaurant. Make sure you got good people in your your portfolio of professionals, like you and your firm, to call on to help people get their policies set up. So they're going to have fleet liability. Like we just had that couple from England or from Canada. Like, hey, you got to have a liability policy. You have to have, they're managing vacation homes. Those things are each individually licensed as hotels. There's specific policies for that. And then, there's also specific policies when there's alcohol involved and a whole bunch of different stuff. So you can see how complicated it can get. So the summary is, make sure you have good professional people. You have a relationship with them where someone's going to pick up the phone. You're not calling Bangladesh or God knows where someone's just reading off a rate sheet. They understand your business and what you're trying to accomplish, and they can work with you. So give me a phone number for you and website so people can go to Locke Insurance and get the information, get the best quotes.
Michael, I'll give that to you in just a second. I want to bring up one more important thing real quick with people coming into Florida. If they're buying a business and, they may have to do a build out because they don't like the way that it's, set up or whatnot. And they probably hire subcontractors to come in. And they ask for a certificate of insurance for that subcontractor. What you need to do is make sure that not only are you getting that certificate of insurance, call the company or the agency listed on that certificate and make sure that that policy is in effect. So many people will go get insurance. They have that certificate. It's good for a year. They never make their next monthly payment on that, and that policy is canceled. They still have proof to give you. Make sure you're calling and double checking yourself.
Yeah, trust but verify, right?
That's right.
And we are the fraud capital of the world, apparently. So
unfortunately, we are. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I love how you couch is like, I trust people, but right?
Yeah.
I believe you, but I want to make sure you do. And sometimes it's innocent. Like, it's funny. You got to go do your tag, right? I had to do mine this morning. I've been driving around for 8 months without a tag. Yeah. And my wife, I saw it last night. My wife's like, oh, I forgot. I'm like, I could have got pulled over. I've been going back and forth on I-4 all day. And, it can be innocent. People can innocently miss a payment. But as soon as you miss a payment, policy's voided, right? So call and check, read the damn policy, make it covers what you want it to cover, et cetera, et cetera. And make sure, one of the other things is make sure that their employees are covered. They may have a policy for their employees, but if they bring in subs, they're not covered, right? And guess what? You're going to get sued as a homeowner.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah. All right, cool. Give me your plug.
My phone number, 863-226-0907. I will tell you, I like educating someone. So I'm here for any questions that you have. I'm not, necessarily wanting the business. I enjoy it. However, I love to educate. You have any questions, comments, concerns, again, 863-226-0907. You're going to get straight to me. My email, kim@lockeinsurance.com. You're also welcome to email me any questions that you have. Again, that is kim@lockeinsurance.com. All
right. Thank you. I will not see you tomorrow. I've got my daughter subbing for me, so please be brutal. And,
all right.
taking my mom to get some surgery tomorrow, so she's covering for me.
All right. Well, good luck to your mom, and you have a great week.